there's guys on the roof working there. I hope they can't see me, although they've seen more of me than most people. I'm so single. Well, at least somebody's watching my lovely booty. That's nice. Anyway, I'm distracted. ADHD. I wanted to talk about the books that I read the last 2 months because I didn't make a January update because I was very busy, and I know we're like a week into March. What can I tell you? Life happens, you know? But I wanted to talk about the books that I read up to now. I read 15 books up to now, and I set up a goal for 44 books this year. So we're doing good. What is this, Storygraph? No, the other one. Goodreads. Wow, brain fart. ADHD. It's going great today. Well, both of them are telling me that I'm 8 books ahead of my schedule of reaching 44 books by the end of the year. So I'm doing really good. I'm just gonna take my tablet. This is not a laptop, this is a tablet. Words. I'm gonna take it here so you can see what I read with me. First of all, I read The Stolen White Elephant by Mark Twain. This is a short story. I haven't read much Mark Twain yet. I thought, let me start with a short story and see how his writing style is. The writing style itself is okay. It's just that the story is very boring. I gave it a 2 stars. It was not my thing. It was so bleak. You would think a stolen white elephant, oh my god, amazing. No, it was mostly the thoughts and bad judgments and the gaslighting of a detective. There was nothing thrilling about this. This was no. I mean, maybe other people, it was sometimes funny to, see how a detective in that time period would think and how different we do police work nowadays, the differences between there. I mean, it was pulled into the ridiculous, something I think Mark Twain is good at. I'm not sure. I have nothing to... I shouldn't be saying that. I didn't read any of his other books, but I feel like this man can really pull things into the ridiculous. But no, it didn't do it for me. I'm sorry. Then I read a book for our January book club meetup. We read Crying in H Mart. I really wanted to read this book for a while already. It's a memoir, which I don't read too many of memoirs, but I do enjoy memoirs. So I wasn't too sad about that choice. It's the memoir of Michelle Zellner, by the way. I don't know if I pronounced her last name correctly. I'm so sorry if I don't. It was a very emotional book for me. I gave it 4 stars. It was emotionally for different reasons. It was a very personal book to me. I'm sorry, I'm a bit sick. Ignore the sniffing and my nasal voice. I'm full of disgustingness. My sinuses are just so blocked right now. Anyway, this was a very emotional book because I had a relationship with a Chinese guy for 6 years, and he basically learned me how to cook and everything like that. Up to this day, I still mostly cook Chinese food because it's the most natural way of cooking for me. It's the most easy way. It's yeah. I don't know how to cook any other kitchen. Maybe Italian is fine, but I don't know how to cook Belgian food too well. So usually I make rice for myself every day almost. I eat rice every day. It just makes more sense for me. And that means that I also spend a lot of time going to the Chinese supermarkets and grocery stores, where I do see a lot of things that brings back a lot of memories for me of that relationship. Um, which in the beginning was very hard, like the crying in H Mart. Yeah, I did cry. I did cry a lot going to the supermarket after um, our separation. I'm not gonna call it a breakup because it wasn't a breakup. It was a separation that was never meant to happen, but happened anyway, and just life went on, and yeah, nothing you can do about it. Sometimes life is life. You gotta do it. Put that on a cushion. Please don't. That was bad. Oh well. Um yeah, so the beginning of the book I was very much like, oh yeah, you lose somebody, you do things, you see things, and also for her, for Michelle, she's like half American, half Korean, South Korean. Her mother was South Korean and her mother died. And I feel like for her, the dying of her mother was also her Korean in heritage dying. She did not, or she felt like she did not tune in with her Korean part enough. For most of her teenage years, she always tried to be American and push away the Korean part. And now her mother died, or while her mother was dying, she was like, oh my God, this is the only Korean part about me, my mother. I have to tune into it. I'm not Korean enough. Like, this is really bad. And she learned cooking and all of that stuff. And even in her healing process after her mother died, the cooking of Korean dishes was still a very important part to her. I feel like she found her Korean heritage by the dying of her mother. And that's really beautiful. And I did feel that on a very personal level, because when my relationship ended, um, I still cook Chinese food and I still enjoyed Chinese food, and I lived abroad in Asia for a couple of years and stuff like that, and I just feel like it's part of me. And I know that's strange coming from a white woman, but the Asian culture feels way more natural to me than my Belgium culture. And without my boyfriend, without my partner, I felt like I was a fraud. Like, I don't have a reason for loving Asian culture so much, even though I lived abroad there and I was in a relationship of 6 years and I took care of his mom and stuff like that. Like, she lived with us, and it's a lot of the culture became part of me through those things. And I learned to adapt. And now I was fully adapted. I wasn't like, it wasn't okay for me anymore to do that. I mean, this is what society thinks about it. Yeah, it was a loss for me, and I felt like my identity didn't match me. It was very strange, a very strange period of my life, and it took me quite a while getting over it. And then the Crying in H Mart book also talked a lot about, like palliative care, like taking care of a dying person, which as a nurse I do quite often. I also had internships in places where they only focus on people who are dying. So I have a lot of knowledge about that, and that was also interesting reading a book about that side, like the family side of palliative care, because I only watched it through the eyes of a nurse and never the eyes of a family member. So that was also a very interesting thing. Why did I give it 4 stars and not 5 stars? There were some parts where I wished there was more. Like her relationship with her husband, for example. I wish there was more there. But I understand that this book was her way of dealing with the death of her mother. And so it was more focused on her mother and her Korean side. So yeah, it makes sense. It makes sense. But I wish there was more. Sorry for my sniffing. Ooh, my nose. Then I read What I Talk About When I Talk About Running by Murakami. This is a book about running. Yeah. I'm not a runner. I have asthma. However, it did get me motivated to go for a run. And I did go for a run. And I never went again. I gave it 3 stars. It's motivational. Yeah. Then I read Everything I Know About Love by Dolly. What's her last name? Alderton. Dolly Alderton. Did I give this 1 star? I gave this 1 star. I didn't even finish the book. I'm very sorry. And I immediately, when I gave up reading this book, which was, I don't know, 70 pages in, I put it outside at my front door and hoped a stranger would take it, and they did. That's what I do with books that I don't want in my life anymore. We put it at the front door and hope a stranger takes it. Why did I do that? It's a very millennial book. And I'm at that border of millennial, Gen Z, and I feel like I lean more towards Gen Z. So there were parts of this book that I found very relatable. And then there were parts that I was like, ugh. Ugh. Like it felt cringy. I didn't enjoy it. I don't know. Unpopular opinion. This was not a good book. Come fight me in the comment section. It wasn't. No. I also had high expectations of the book. But it was. I don't know why this book exists. I don't know why it exists. I have no clue. Oh my god, so many people gave it 5 and 4 stars on Goodreads. What is wrong with me? No, there's nothing wrong with me. This is just not my cup of tea, and that's fine. Don't fight me. Then I read another Murakami book, The Elephant Vanishes. And I don't really remember. It's a short story book. It's a short story book. I gave it 2 stars, and I'm gonna be honest, I do not remember too much of this book. I don't remember a single short story. Oh well. Whoops. Then I decided to read Sun and Steel by Yukio Mishima because I read what is it? The Sea of Fertility is not a trilogy, it's 4 books. What do you call... Never mind. My brain is not braining, doesn't matter. What do I have to say about this? I do want to see more of Mishima's work. Like I said, I like the Sea of Fertility series. Mostly the first book. The first book was a 5-star for me. The other books were ranging between 3 and 4 stars ish. Mostly 3-star. But this man is so interesting. Like his entire view is so interesting. He's also a little bit obnoxious, but I like that. It's like Murakami. He's obnoxious, but so interesting. Something about these Japanese men just... Yeah, it was a peek inside of his head, and I could see so much about what he wrote in the Sea of Fertility series in this book, him talking about it. It's more kind of a, is it a memoir? Yeah, it's just deep thoughts of this man written down, his philosophy, basically. It was very interesting seeing this. It wasn't the most enjoyable read. This man has a very peculiar writing style, and sometimes it's hard to get through. It doesn't read as smooth. And sometimes you have to reread sentences to really understand the meaning behind the sentence because they're so gorgeously constructed that sometimes it just goes straight over my head. I'm not as smart, but it was good. It was interesting. Next up, I read Cleopatra and Frankenstein by Coco Malors because I heard a lot of people talk about this book last year or the year before. So I bought it and then I left it in my unread books pile. There's a lot of books there. I gave it 3 stars. It wasn't bad. But it wasn't wow. It was a love story. And it was a good love story. An interesting one, for sure. The breakup was the best part of it. No, the beginning was also good. When they met, that was also good. But then in between, I was kind of like disappointed with all the things happening there, and I wanted more. And yeah, the characters were also so annoying to me, which I liked about this book. These super annoying characters that I just wanted to like, that's good. It gave me anxiety. So I think that's why I gave it 3 stars. I mean, pretty good book, but also giving me high anxiety. And I don't know if I want that from a book, from a romance story. I don't know. Then I have another book that I read for the book club. February's read was Digging Our Own Graves. Coal miners and the struggle of black lung disease. I gave this 1 star. I barely read it. It is probably quite nice. I see so many 5-star reviews. Oh my god. Okay. It's probably not a bad book, but I did not enjoy it. I also don't know if I really care about black lung disease in minors. Whoopsies. Then I read Out by Natsuo Kirino, which, wow. This was a 4-star read too. Maybe like 4.5. 4.5 stars. Almost 5 stars. Amazing. Absolutely amazing. It does at the end drag along a little bit too much. I wish there was something different at the ending, but wow. Wow. I did enjoy this book a lot. Just the descriptions, love that. The characters are so uncanny. Just the correct what? Oh my god. I don't know how to talk. Just the way the characters were. Some of them were so strange. Like, how can a person be like this? How can a person think like this? It was so interesting to read. It was so interesting to read. And all of the problems these women have, like, they all had the same problem, which was money, a lack of it. But the way they dealt with it was so different and so good. Wow. Loved it. Then I read The Old Man of the Moon by Chung Fu. Sorry. Chung Fu. This was a 4-star read. This was a very beautiful love story. So beautiful. Wow. The poetry in there. The way he talks about his wife. Wow. I wish I had a husband like that. They didn't have the best life. Yud was sick a lot of the time, but still the love that was between them. Oh my god, so beautiful, so beautiful. Then I read Sorrow and Bliss. I listened to the audiobook, to be more specific, by Mac Mason. This was so funny. This was also almost a five star. I think I gave it 4.5 stars. My God, I this had me laughing out loud on my bicycle going to work, just laughing my ass off. But at the same time, at moments, also made me so sad, and I don't know. This book was a roller coaster of emotions. So much happened within the relationship, and just her talking about her mental illness throughout her life and what it did to her relationships. Wow. Definitely the ending. Oh, the ending. Wow. Just everybody should go listen to it. Go listen to it. Don't read it. Listen to it. It's so good. I love this book. Why did I give it 5 stars? Why did I take a point away? I think in the beginning it was kind of like harder to get through, but then towards the end it just becomes so good. And I love it. It's so British. It's so British. Well, the how do I say, the audiobook was British, so I'm assuming she's British. I could be wrong. I have no clue actually. But it felt, no, it was British. Yeah, they were British. She was going to London and stuff. Yeah. God, this is becoming worse. Um I loved it. I loved it. It was so British. All of it. Then I read The Diary of a Voyage by Emmy Yagi, which, wow, what a mindfuck this book was. This was also a 4 star, or maybe even a 4.5 star. It starts with this woman who's just like, you know what? I'm gonna act like I'm pregnant because everybody at my workspace is a dick. Ha! And I thought that was genius. I'm like, yeah, you go, girl. Prove them wrong. Like, as a woman in Japan, you have so many extra tasks in an office job because men are just lazy assholes. There's no other reason. Who makes the coffee? Well, in my workspace, the person who makes the coffee, or there is a person assigned to doing these things, they're logistic tasks, and there's somebody during the day doing all the logistic tasks, but that's the only thing she does, or he does. They don't have to do any other job than those things, like doing the trash, making coffee, organizing things, making sure there's enough materials to work with, like there's enough pens and stuff, like doing orders for those things, like, oh, we're out of this or that, oh, I will order some, it's fine, I will buy some. Like, that's their task, that's all they do, that's what they get paid for. They don't do our job, they do that, so we don't have to think about those things. So in Japan, that's not how it works. Or sometimes, in certain office jobs that I did, it's the first person who arrives at the job who makes coffee, stuff like that. And then it's a shared responsibility to look at your materials. Like, do we have enough pens? Do we have enough paper? Do we need to order more? Do we still have some in stock? Can somebody go look? Or when you take the last, I don't know, when you take the last carton of milk, you replace it with a new carton of milk. And if you go get it at the stock and you'll see in the stock, like, oh my God, we're almost out of milk, you order new milk. You just do this. Everybody does this. It's a shared task. In Japan, it doesn't work like that. Women do this, or the youngest or like the latest person joining the team does these things. How are you supposed to do your job if you also have to do all of those things? It's like impossible to do. I did not understand this. And this woman, I don't think they ever give the main character's name. No, they do. Shibata. Yeah, I remember. Yeah. Yeah. she's sick of it. So she's like, hey, I'm pregnant. So I'm not doing these tasks anymore. And I'm also gonna take maternity leave soon. Yeah, fuck all of you. I love that. I love that. Ah, I love that so much. But then in the end, she's somewhere halfway the book, she has me doubting, like, is she really pregnant? Or my first thought was like, oh my god, she's starting to believe her own lie. She actually thinks she's pregnant. Oh no, she's gonna be found out. People are gonna figure it out. Oh no. And she actually thinks she's pregnant. Like, I'm really starting to think she has some mental illness. But then at the end of the book, she actually gives birth to a child. She's actually pregnant. And I'm like bamboozled. I'm like, wait a minute. This book started as a joke. And now she's actually... What? Like, it had me bamboozled. It had me bamboozled. Loved it. Then, 3 more to go. Then I read All About Love by Bell Hooks. Oh my god, 5-star read. 6-star read. 7-star. This was so good. There's so much. There's so much I got out of this book. It's gonna sound stupid, but it was life-changing. And it wasn't new to me what she was saying. It all made perfect sense. But these were things that I needed to hear again from someone else. To be like, yeah, exactly. And I can talk about this book for hours, which I'm not gonna do because this is already a hella long video, because I've 8 books to talk. I have 15 books to talk about. I'm sorry, I can't count. But it's just, her vision on love is so different from what we learn about when we are younger, by society, on television, by our parents, in schools. Like, there's just so much misconception about love and about loneliness, and how we put certain quotations on it, like loneliness is bad and love is good. So it almost makes us want to have, even if the love is toxic and bad for us, it's still love. Oh my god, like, we rather want that toxic love that just destroys us, than to be lonely. Because, oh my god, loneliness, no. Like, we're scared of it. It's like we're gonna die if we're lonely. And I've been on my own. I've been lonely for the last 4 years. 3 years? See, I don't even know anymore. I stopped counting. And I'm happy with it. I'm actually got to a point where I'm like, ooh, if I get a relationship now, I need to allow another person to come into my life and make space for them. And yes, I am willing to do that. It's a choice I make, also out of this book. It's a choice. You choose to love somebody. You don't just fall in love. No, you choose to start a relationship and build love with somebody. It's an act. It's not a feeling. It's something you do. And you can choose to do it, or you can choose not to do it. And that is so important. And to me, that choice, that decision, I think about that so much. Yeah. I talked about this with people, and I noticed that lots of people have very different perspectives on love than I have. And I feel like Bell Hooks' perspective on love is very similar to how I think. To me, you choose to love somebody and you choose to build on that love. It doesn't just exist. It doesn't just poof, there it is. It's something you have to build up together. And I know that by looking at my parents. My parents had a very turbulent relationship and lots of things happened, but they never divorced. They could have have had. They could have. They could have. But they chose not to, and they chose to work on it for the sake of their children and for the sake of their stable life. And now they are more in love than they have ever been. While a couple of years ago, okay, no, a decennia ago, like when I was a teenager, their relationship was really bad, really, really bad. And there was a lot of unresolved things they didn't talk about. And that is it. Communication is key in a relationship. It really is. And my parents are perfect proof of that. And I think that's the most healthy thing that I could have seen as a teenager, that relationship, seeing how it changed. And that is why, for me, right now, I'd rather be single than be in a relationship with somebody who doesn't understand love on a level that I understand love, that I saw love happen in front of my eyes as a teenager, as a young adult. So yeah, I choose to be single. It was a choice. It was a choice. Anyway, moving on. Then I read another book in March for the book club, which was A Drive Your Plow Over the Bones of the Dead by Olga, and then I don't think I can pronounce her name correctly. That's a very difficult name. This was amazing. This was another 5-star read. It was so good. It's like a murder mystery, but I'm not gonna spoil it for you guys. It's that the main character has such interesting thoughts and philosophies. I underlined so much in this book, and there's just gorgeous lines in there. Also lines that just surprise me and like kind of were like, oh, okay, that's how you think, girl. Okay, that's a bit strange and a bit toxic and a bit dangerous. I don't know if you should think like that, but it was so interesting. Go read it. Just go read it. I promise you, it's a good book. Bit of murder, a bit of weird philosophy, animal rights, a lot about animal rights. Yeah. And then as last, I finished Greek Lessons a couple days ago by Han. I read The Vegetarian, years and years ago. 7 years ago, I think, maybe even longer. And that was a good book. She's a very interesting writer. So I was very, very excited when I found out she had a second book, because I found out pretty late. I was very excited about that. I'm like, okay, her writing style changed a lot over the years. I believe she also took courses and stuff like that. She has such a poetic way of writing. It's so beautiful. It's so, so beautiful. Gorgeous. The book itself, heartbreaking. It was stunning book. Stunning book. I gave it 4 stars, I think. Yeah. And then for now, I am also reading Ocean Vuong's On Earth We're Briefly Gorgeous. I started this book like months ago, but on my e-reader. And I don't enjoy reading these kind of books on my e-reader because I like to underline sentences. You know, I like to underline beautiful parts of this book. And there are so many beautiful parts in this book. And yes, I can highlight on my e-reader, but I like to have a physical copy to go through and just stop at a certain page and be like, oh, this line, or like, oh yeah, then he said this, and this is gonna be a good one. And I'm gonna take it slow. I don't want to rush through this book. I want to fully immerse myself in it because it's so beautiful. yeah. Also, I'm gonna keep you updated on my June reads because I started June again. I read it like in 2019, the first book. And I have my opinions about it, but I'm ready to get my opinions changed. I'm okay with that. I want the book to change my opinion. So we'll see. We'll see. I mean, I've grown as a person, I've changed as a person. Maybe my new perspective will change the book. I hope it does because I feel like I missed something there. So we'll see. We'll see. Anyway, I hope you have a lovely rest of your day, your evening, or good night, whenever you're watching this. And yeah, I'll see you again another time. Bye bye.